Tony Alva, from Z-Boy to punk rock pioneer. Tony Alva didn't just shape pool skating, he helped spark punk's sound and attitude. Alva carried the Venice surf skate ethos straight into the grittiest clubs. He fronted and played bass in bands like The Scoundrels, and more famously GFP, General Principle, a hardcore punk supergroup with Tom Paul Davis, Greg Hetson from Circle Jerks and Bad Religion, and drummer Amory Smith of Tendencies. Alva helped build LA punk. It was raw and cultural, and he wasn't motivated by money or charts. He played respected LA punk venues, appeared on compilations, and earned coverage in skate and music media for keeping that skate punk aesthetic alive. Alva's credibility comes from authenticity, Z-Boy roots, DIY shows, and collaborations with core punk figures. He kept skate culture edgy, and his music's crossover became a blueprint for the local sound. Alva didn't have some punk phase. At age 56, he began playing with LA rock group His Eyes Have Fangs, legend. Steve Caballero, The Faction's hardcore legacy. Steve Caballero plugged into hardcore with The Faction, a San Jose band formed in 1982. Cab played guitar, and the group became one of the first bands to explicitly merge skate culture with punk lyrics, cover art, and shows. If you've ever seen Skate and Destroy scrawled on a deck, that vibe runs through The Faction's catalog. Their songs we featured in skate videos and circulated through zines and cassette trades. Grassroots channels that mattered in that era. And The Faction weren't a novelty act. They played real shows, released EPs and LPs like No Hidden Messages and Dark Room, and toured regionally. Their track Skate and Destroy is an anthem, synonymous with skate identity. Caballero later played in Odd Man Out, Shovelhead, and Soda. But The Faction is his legacy. Recognition came through historic status. They're frequently cited in documentaries, books, and retrospectives on skate punk, with reunions drawing multi-generational audiences who know the lyrics by heart. Duane Peters, the chaos of the US bombs. Duane Peters, the master of disaster, turned punk mayhem into a musical career with US bombs. His band actively aligned skate with punk during the 1990s and 2000s. Peters' raspy vocals and classic late 70s energy was blended with Union Jacket swagger. The band released records on labels like Hellcat Records, which was founded by Tim Armstrong, of Rancid fame, instantly plugging them into a global punk network. The Hellcat Association signaled real credibility. US Bombs toured internationally, played Warped tour dates, and earned press from punk mags like Maximum Rock and Roll and mainstream outlets covering the late 90s punk wave. Albums such as Warbirth and The World are acknowledged staples for fans of street punk with melodic hooks. Peters also formed the Huns with Corey Parks, plus Die Huns, Hoons, and other side projects, proving he wasn't a single band story. The counterintuitive part is that his chaotic public persona masked a prolific songwriter who could write sing-along anthems. In other words, his music career stands on its own catalog, touring history, and label lineage. Beyond his skating legend. Ray Barbee, the smooth transition to jazz and funk. Ray Barbee took a different path. Instead of hardcore or punk, he leaned into jazz, funk, and soulful instrumental grooves. He's a guitarist first, with a tone that mirrors his skating, fluid, understated yet technical. Barbee released albums on Galaxia Records, including Triumphant Procession and 2005's In Full View. And he's collaborated with Tommy Guerrero and Matt Rodriguez. Think soulful drums, warm bass, and melodic guitar lines, and you have Barbee's sound. Barbee's music appears in skate videos and lifestyle films. And he's been featured by music outlets that value instrumental craft, not just nostalgia. He's played festivals and performed live sets that blend improvisation with tight rhythm sections. His compositions carry motion. They wouldn't feel out of place in a trendy restaurant. He also worked with Leica and Fender on creative projects, signaling respect from cultural brands. Barbee's catalog is conducive to repeat listens. His style warps the skate punk stereotype by showing how skate ethos translates into groove-based, jazz-informed music that is timeless. Chuck Treece, the session musician who bridged genres. Chuck Treece isn't just a skater who plays music. He's a multi-instrumentalist who's been inside major studios for decades. He came up with 80s punk group McRad, the high-velocity skate guys behind the skate video McShred. with Treece on guitar, bass, and vocals depending on the era. Then he really blew up. He played the bass on Billy Joel's track The River of Dreams, toured and recorded with Bad Brains, worked with Urge Overkill. He was the drummer in one of Pearl Jam's concerts and remixed songs for Sting and Amy Grant. The simple version, Treece became the go-to guy when bands needed feel, precision, and zero ego. Recognition? Tons, though it's often the quiet kind session players earn. His credits appear across liner notes on major label records and has been featured in documentaries and interviews about Philly's skate and punk history. Treece is respected by drummers and guitarists across many scenes. He was awarded the 2010 Pew Fellowship in the Arts and got endorsements that normally go to artists with deep resumes. Musicians describe him as the guy who can walk in, lay down a part in one take, and make the song swing. That's how you bridge hardcore, hip-hop, funk, and alt-rock without losing identity. Chuck Treece, the Santa Cruz, Airwalk, and Powell-sponsored skater and artist, turned versatility into a career. Matt Hensley, trading vert ramps for Flogging Molly's accordion. Everything clicked when Matt Hensley shifted from street innovator to full-time touring musician. He didn't just dabble. He joined Flogging Molly, the Celtic punk band known for rowdy melodic anthems. Hensley brought accordion and concertina into sweaty clubs and festival stages worldwide. Hensley formed Flogging Molly's Irish folk punk sound with singer Dave King in their LA days. When the band solidified, Hensley's role became central. He's also played with the Devil's Brigade and performed Irish traditional sets, proving range beyond just punk rock. Recognition is clear. Flogging Molly's albums like Drunken Lullabies and Float landed on Billboard charts. They've sold out international tours and they're festival mainstays. Think Reading in Leeds, Coachella, and the band's own Salty Dog Cruise. Music critics said Hensley gives the band its lift and melancholy in the same breath. The accordion isn't just a novelty in his hands, it's the emotional engine. Offstage, Hensley co-founded Hensley's Flying Elephant Pub as a cultural hub, which reinforced his music-first identity. This vision and H Street Ripper traded skate contests for sound checks and built an impressive career in one of the biggest folk punk bands on the planet. Tommy Guerrero, the instrumental soundtrack of skate culture. Tommy Guerrero, the icon from the early Powell Peralta days, made records that feel like late afternoon sessions. Sunny guitars, dubby drums, lo-fi bass lines are all part of his unique sound. He started with the skate rock band Free Beer. Then albums like A Little Bit of Something, Soul Food Taqueria, From the Soil to the Soul, and Perpetual became staples for people who sought groovy melodies. Guerrero's blend of rock, soul, Latin, funk, and jazz weave into clean, groovy songs. Recognition came both inside and outside skateboarding. He signed with Mo Wax Records, getting praise from tastemakers in the trip-hop and down-tempo scenes. And his tracks popped up in films, art shows, and countless skate edits. He got second place in Rolling Stone's 2003 Best Of list, with Soul Food Taqueria, and regularly charts in record store staff picks. Tommy Guerrero isn't a novelty act or a one-off. He's a career musician with a catalog people collect on wax and streaming apps. This San Francisco native is a master of tricks and guitar licks. Mike Vallely, the raw power of revolution, Mother and Beyond. Mike Vallely took his stage energy straight from street aggression, aggro, loud, with no half steps. He fronted Mike V and the Rats, a hardcore unit with fast tempos and straight-ahead shout-along choruses. Then he built Revolution Mother, a heavier, rock-leaning band that toured hard, released Glorybound and Rollin' with Thamutha, and landed songs on action sports soundtracks. He also led Black Flag in later-era lineups, which, regardless of debates, marks a rare crossover. A skater fronting one of punk's most famous names on international stages. The point is simple, Vallely chooses the deep end. Recognition? He pulled Warped Tour appearances, shared stages with legacy punk and metal acts, and earned press from outlets that don't hand out coverage for nostalgia alone. Revolution Mother signed with Century Media-affiliated channels and appeared on ESPN X Games content and video game playlists. Distribution that puts songs in millions of ears. Here's the reality check. Vallely's vocals polarize some listeners, but the booking history, label ties, and sustained output confirm a professional music career. Plus, his work with Good For You, the project with Greg Ginn, added to his catalog. Nobody explains this right, but Vallely's music resume stands because he did the miles. Vans, clubs, festivals, repeat. Here's the simple version. Skating and music share the same engine. DIY courage, rhythm, and community. You heard it across 8 lives. Tony Alva and Duane Peters carried punk's bite from empty pools to sweaty stages. Steve Caballero and Mike Vallely turned hardcore into anthems people still shout in small rooms. Matt Hensley proved an accordion could lead a global Celtic punk roar, not as a gimmick, but as heart. Tommy Guerrero and Barbee showed groove can be just as skate as speed. Lines turned into bass lines, manuals into melodies. Chuck Treece tied it all together, moving between genres with studio-level craft that most musicians never reach. Why does this matter? Because skateboarding isn't just tricks. It's timing, flow, risk, and taste. Music is the same. When a skater becomes a musician, they already understand tempo, build-up, and release. They've performed under pressure. They know how to read a crowd. That's why these careers weren't side quests. They held up on their own touring, labels, festivals, charts, and cultural respect. Key takeaway: the culture breathes through both decks and records. Same lungs, different exhale. If you want deeper stories behind these artists' best tracks and the sessions where skate history met studio history, subscribe and watch the next episode in this series. New drops weekly.